Okay, today's video is going to be so helpful for you. I am going to go through some of the van life hacks that I have learned over 4 years doing van life, but I'm also going to talk about the ones that I've learnt from you guys. So that's the thing I love about this YouTube community, because it has become a community that we've got here. And every time I do a video where, people are in the comments section and they're sharing thoughts and ideas of what works for them, and honestly, like, you guys have come up with some amazing hacks, so let's get into it. So I'm going to start off talking about safety, and I have done a video on this before, and in that video I talked about how someone gifted me some pepper spray. Now, pepper spray is actually only legal in Western Australia, I think, maybe the Northern Territory, but it's definitely not legal all over Australia. And it can actually be a little bit problematic if there's a wind blowing or something. It could backfire and, become a problem for you too. So anyway, I had quite a few of you actually comment on that video that I should get some wasp spray. And I was like, wasp spray? Like, why would that be any better or different? Anyway, I did look into it, and I have gone and got some, and I can see now why it would probably be a better option. So when you're spraying a wasp nest, obviously you need to get a fair bit of distance from that wasp nest, because otherwise they're going to start coming at you. So with the wasp spray, I mean, look at this thing, it's massive, but because you want to get a distance, it actually gives, like, I think it was like 5 metre spray, long reach wasp spray, up to 6 metres. So the good thing about that is that you can be 6 metres away from someone and still affect them. So you don't need to be that close to them, because it would be quite a bit of a force coming out of it as well. The wind wouldn't affect it as much because, I mean, it's pretty big. It's got a pretty decent handle on there too, so you're not trying to fiddle around with something small. But yeah, I haven't used it, obviously, on anyone, so I don't know what the effect would have, but if you're spraying it in someone's face, I can't imagine it would be too much fun. So yeah, wasp spray. The next hack is by far one of my favourites, and shout out to Joy who told me this one. So when I was up north, I met with a follower and she suggested of just getting a black water bottle as a shower. So what happens is, because it's dark, and you could probably actually get a water bottle that is completely dark, not see-through, it would work a lot better. But because it's small and it's black, if you leave it out in the sun, it's going to heat the water up pretty quick. So I actually use this to shower with, or just rinse off with, after I've been in the ocean, because I spend a lot of time in the water. So I have loved this thing. Like, I've just got to remember, fill it up, leave it outside the van, and then I've got warm water to wash myself down with, fresh, clean water. And I don't have to worry about setting up any sort of shower pump or any elaborate system. It's just the easiest thing. And I've actually used this for so many other things too. I use it to put water on my solar panel when I'm cleaning my solar panel with my mop. Just like heaps of stuff. So these are really, I think I'll probably get another one, because the other thing when you're showering with these as well is that because it's coming out of one small area, it's really, you're not wasting much water because you're putting it exactly on the area that it needs to go on. So yeah, it's the cheapest, best hack ever. The next hack is to do with having a cup of tea. So as a lot of you know, I have struggled a little bit with power storage this year because I've started going off grid and sitting still for a week. And I also drink a lot of tea, so I like to definitely like my cup of tea in the morning, and then I might have another one in the afternoon. So I don't have to use too much power and boil the kettle again, people suggested that I get a thermos, and I actually just boil the kettle once and then fill up the thermos, so I can just use that later in the afternoon. So you're not using as much power to make a good couple of cups of tea. So for all you tea drinkers out there, or coffee drinkers, that's a pretty good hack too. Pretty early on into van life, I did bump into another couple on the road who had just kind of started out. They'd just been doing a fit out, and they suggested these little hooks. So if I can get the camera to focus. So I just get these from Bunnings. You can get them in different sizes, and it's magnetic on one side and a hook on the other. And I use these in the van everywhere. So I've actually got like all my earrings and jewellery on these things, and I use them for just so much stuff. Yeah, so they're a really handy thing to have. I would probably just, if you're putting it on the outside of the van just to protect the paintwork, you could actually just like sew a little bit of material over the bottom just to protect the paintwork there. And I did notice that when I had them on the van, on the outside of the van, I thought it was actually ruining the paint on the outside of the van because it was on the metal on the inside. And it was actually, someone mentioned that it wasn't the magnetic affecting the paint, it was just the magnetics picking up all the brake dust and causing a bit of circle on the paint. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So you might not want to put it on a part of the van that's directly to the outside. It might be like, you know, on the beams, the cross beams. But yeah, they're super handy. Now I'm pretty sure I saw this hack early on in my van life journey online when I was like getting excited about living the lifestyle, and I was researching everything online, and someone said that they actually just used a cushion cover to put large items of clothing in, and so you've got like this nice looking cushion sitting there, but it also doubles as storage. So I actually had this cushion here and I use it to put my hoodie in. So my hoodie is obviously, it's quite soft, so it can actually still act as like a cushion, a good decent cushion, but it's a good storage place for the hoodie because it takes up quite a bit of room. The other things you can do for storage to try and save space is Kmart has those space saver bags, so you can use those as well, but I have found, like I've tried those in the van, and maybe it's just because I've got the cheap ones from Kmart, but they do tend to rip quite easily. And I do have obviously metal drawers under my bed that I use that they're in. So maybe it's just, you know, the metal drawers are ripping them, whatever. And maybe I should invest in some more expensive ones. But yeah, pretty handy hack to use that. One of the things I've learnt myself just from living van life is when I started out, I had a 20-litre tank of water under my sink that I would keep topped up for my water usage, and then I'd have a 20-litre tank which was an exit tank for grey water, and that sort of system was already set up when I bought the van. But what I found was that the grey water tank would just get really stinky really quickly. It would also just be a pain to try and find somewhere to empty it because people look at you sideways. You know, if you're living this sort of van life where you're, you know, stealth camping in town centres and things, and you're trying to empty a 20-litre tank of grey water, you know, at a park, which I understand, like it's not, you know, it's not very nice to do that. So what I started to do instead, I got rid of the grey water tank, and that way I could actually get a new one and just fill that up and then carry 40 litres of water rather than only 20. And I got myself a bowl. So I bought myself a nice stainless steel one, you know, so it kind of melds in with my sink. And I just keep that inside my sink. And so I just have to then empty one bucket of water out, which is a lot easier to get away with, you know, so people don't really look at you too much if you're just emptying out a little bit of water. I don't use much water and I do my dishes, so yeah, I can kind of get away with doing that. I have forgotten a couple of times that there is water in the sink, and I've driven off, and that's been a bit messy to clean up. But I would have done that whether I had the bucket in the sink or not, I think. So yeah, that's been really handy for me. That's been one of my favourite changes I've made in the van, and one of the tricks I've learned along the way. Something else that's really important in van life is your key. Your car key is your home key, so therefore it's really, really important that you keep it available to you at all times. So the first couple of weeks of van life, I had a few heart attack moments where I thought, oh my God, I've lost my key. So that sent me on a path of making sure I know where it is at all times, but I also have a backup plan. So I keep it on a lanyard, so when I'm outside of the van, it's only ever around my neck. If I'm inside the van, it hangs in one place in the van, so it's only ever in two places. I also my daughter has a copy of the key as well, so if I'm in Perth, at least she can come and save me if I've lost my key, or lock my key in the car somehow. The other thing I do is I actually have had another key cut and I hide it inside the van. So if I lock myself out of the van or I lose the key, at least all I need to do is break a window and then I've got access to my home and I can move it around. And I understand like a window is probably not cheap to replace, but it will probably cost you just as much, maybe more, to actually get another key cut for the van. And at least that way you've got access to it straight away rather than having to wait for someone to, get that key done up for you. So a couple of other things that I've learned along the way. I used to actually have the head of my bed on this side of the van because my desk is here so I could keep my phone and water bottle and stuff there. But when I thought about it, whenever I park up at night, if I'm stealth camping, this side of my bed is the one that's on the pathway side, not the road side. So I changed the head of my bed to this side purely because maybe I'm paranoid, but if someone comes along and hits my van, it's going to be on that side of the van. So at least my head is further away from the impact zone. So unless they come straight in from behind, but generally speaking, just give yourself the best opportunity and keep your head further away from the roadside. And the last hack I want to give you is if you are in travel mode and you're traveling long distances, across the Nullarbor or remote places, if you're not prepared with food, you're quite often going to be paying a fair bit for food. You might often not be eating things that you would normally eat, so it might not be that healthy. A lot of petrol stations and things have got deep fried foods, and after a while it makes you feel ugh after eating too much of it. So what I do is I'll do some batch cooking beforehand. So I'll either cook up a decent meal in my rice cooker that then I can just heat up pretty quickly in the Instant Pot, or I will do a batch of chicken tenderloins, like crumbed chicken tenderloins, and cut up some cucumber, and I just keep the cucumber in a container with a little bit of water because that actually keeps the cucumber crisp. And then I can just eat those, as I go. So if I'm stopping, I don't have to go and buy the food somewhere else. It's saving me money. It's keeping me healthy because when you're driving long distances as well, it can run you down a little bit because you still got to focus and you've got to think about where you're going to park at night, set up, and all of that as well. So give yourself the best chance possible and just have your meals planned if you can. Well, I hope some of these hacks have been helpful for you today. If you've got some hacks that I haven't mentioned that you think everyone else would find helpful, please list them below in the comments section. I'd love to hear them too. And let's keep helping this YouTube community. Wishing you all many happy travels.